What if I told you? She's not confusing you by accident. She's testing how much of yourself you're willing to lose just to keep her close. Most men believe they'd recognize manipulation if it happened to them. But the truth? You rarely see it until it's already cost you something. Your time, your focus, your peace. Some women don't fight with anger. They fight with emotion. They don't need to raise their voice to control you. They only need to know which buttons make you react. Because once they can control your reactions, they control your energy. And this is where most men fall. Not because they're weak, but because they think being calm means being tolerant. They confuse emotional understanding with emotional surrender. But the Stoic man, he plays a different game. He doesn't fight back with ego. He doesn't try to prove his side. He simply stands still, calm, composed, and unshaken. Because he understands. The moment you react, you lose your frame. And when you lose your frame, you lose your power. Manipulation feeds on movement. It needs you to chase, to explain, to fix. But calmness starves it. When you no longer respond to emotional bait, the game ends. Because there's nothing left to pull. So ask yourself, when she withdraws, when she tests, when she pushes your limits, can you stay grounded enough to see what's really happening? Because once you do, you stop being the man who gets played and become the man who can't be moved. Number 1, the guilt trip. One of the oldest manipulation tactics in human psychology isn't anger, it's guilt. A woman doesn't need to yell, argue, or even demand. All she has to do is make you feel bad for something that isn't even wrong. Maybe you couldn't make it to an event because of work, and suddenly you hear it. If you really cared, you'd be there. That line isn't about the event. It's about control. It's a subtle way of saying, prove your love by betraying yourself. And many men fall for it because deep down, they want to be the good man. They mistake guilt for responsibility. And slowly, that guilt becomes a leash. The truth is, guilt trips work only when you need validation. When your peace depends on someone else's approval, you'll bend your boundaries to earn their comfort. But a Stoic man, he sees it for what it is, emotional leverage. He doesn't explain, he doesn't defend. He simply stands by his choice. Because real strength isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about standing firm when guilt tries to rewrite your values. A healthy connection is built on mutual respect, not emotional blackmail. So when guilt shows up, remember, you're not responsible for managing someone else's feelings. You're responsible for mastering your own. And once a woman realizes she can't control you through guilt, she starts to see you differently. Not as someone to manipulate, but as someone she can trust to lead. Number 2, withholding affection. Withholding affection is quieter than a fight, more damaging than a slap. It's the old behavioral trick. Treat warmth like currency and spend it only when you get what you want. One moment she's present, warm, attentive. The next, she's too tired, distant, or emotionally closed off. And you sit there trying to buy back the comfort you once had. Why does it work? Because intimacy is a basic human currency. Many men grew up learning to equate affection with approval. When that approval is removed, it triggers an ancient fear, rejection. That fear makes you negotiate, explain, and compromise. And that's exactly the lever a manipulator wants to pull. A Stoic man sees this for what it is, conditional affection used as control. He doesn't flip the switch with drama. He doesn't plead for warmth. He recognizes the behavior, names it internally, and responds from his center. If affection is being rationed to shape your choices, it isn't love. It's strategy. The answer isn't revenge or scrutiny. It's clarity and boundaries. Hold your line calmly. Don't reward withdrawal with frantic pursuit. Offer presence when it's real. Withdraw presence when it's weaponized. When you stop bargaining for approval, two things happen. You protect your peace, and you reveal the truth of the relationship. Either she returns to genuine connection, or the pattern breaks. And you're free. That kind of freedom is attractive. It's rare. It's the difference between a man who is led by need and a man who leads by choice. Number 3. Love bombing. Love bombing is the sweetest trap, and the most dangerous. At first, it feels like being chosen by fate. Messages all day, grand gestures, declarations that you're the only one that matters. It's intoxicating because it simulates the feeling of being seen, adored, essential. Your brain drinks the attention, dopamine surges. You feel alive. But intensity without time is a shortcut to dependency. The same flood that makes you believe in destiny can be used to steer you. Once the attachment is rapid, expectations follow. Favors, compromises, blurred boundaries. The warmth becomes currency. The love that arrived like a storm is suddenly used as leverage. Why it works so often is simple. We all crave being wanted. Many men carry early wounds that make sudden, intense attention feel like healing. Manipulative patterns exploit that longing. That is why discipline trumps thrill. A stoic man accepts attention without surrendering himself to it. He enjoys the warmth but watches the pace. Real connection accumulates. It doesn't erupt overnight. When overwhelmed by intensity, ask, does this consistency hold when life isn't romanticized? Does her presence stay steady under stress? If the answer is no, the intensity may have been a strategy, not a sign. Respond from centeredness. Appreciate the affection, but measure your boundaries with calm clarity. Don't rush reciprocity. Let time be the test. If she truly matches you in steadiness, the intensity will mellow into commitment. If it collapses when things get real, you've dodged a slow-burning cage. That restraint, enjoying without losing yourself, is the rarest strength. Number 4. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is a favored lever in the toolbox of manipulation. The move is simple. Rewrite reality so you become the guilty one and she becomes the wounded innocent. She shifts the story, twists the timeline, and suddenly your reasonable boundary looks like cruelty. He cheated, but you are distant, so you are the cause. She paints herself fragile and watches you rush to repair what she broke. Why it works? It pulls on your protector wiring. Many men were conditioned to defend the weak, to fix the hurt. Manipulators weaponize that instinct by making you feel moral responsibility for their choices. You react, you apologize, you overcompensate, you lose ground. A stoic response cuts through the theater. Accountability is not negotiable. You don't accept blame for another adult's decision. Calmly name the facts. Don't argue emotion for emotion. State what happened and where responsibility lies. I hear you feel hurt. Cheating happened. That was your choice short. Clear, unshakable, then set consequence-backed boundaries. If the behavior repeats, remove access. If she insists on making you the villain for her actions, withdraw attention, not anger. Walking away is not punishment. It's clarity. It preserves your peace and teaches value. So ask yourself, have you ever been cast as the bad guy for something you didn't do? Comment below. The men who stop apologizing for other people's chaos are the men who keep their dignity. And those men are the ones women cannot quietly manipulate. Stay calm, hold the line, protect your integrity. Number 5. Rage and drama. The loudest manipulation. Rage and drama are the oldest, loudest levers of control. The move is simple. Turn a calm disagreement into chaos so the other person caves just to stop the noise. She explodes, cries, or escalates until you drop the point. and the argument ends, but your boundaries vanish. You walk away, keeping the peace, while the pattern that stole your dignity stays. Why it works? Emotional storms overwhelm. They trigger old survival wiring. The need to soothe, to fix, to quiet the scene at any cost. If you grew up diffusing fights, that instinct becomes a vulnerability manipulators can exploit. The noise isn't about the issue. It's about power. The remedy is not rage in return, it's the opposite, immovable composure. A stoic man doesn't mirror the chaos. He lowers his voice, names the fact, and keeps returning the conversation to the point until it's addressed. Calmness disarms theatrics because drama feeds on reaction. When you refuse the bait, the tactic loses energy. If she uses volume to erase your boundary, respond with one measured sentence. State the behavior, restate the boundary, and hold it. No lecture, no pleading. If escalation continues, create distance, temporarily and without drama. Walking away is not cowardice, it's clarity. Here's the test. Have you ever folded just to stop the shouting? Admit it. The fastest way back to your power is simple. Remain alarmingly calm, speak with resolve, and make peace with consequence. That shift alone rewrites the rules. Number 6. The silent treatment, quiet control, loud consequences. The silent treatment looks small. It's just silence. But silence used as punishment is control dressed as calm. It's not the healthy pause someone takes to think. It's deliberate stonewalling. A withdrawal of attention meant to shape your behavior until you bend. Why it works? Silence triggers a primal itch. The need for repair, the fear of being abandoned, the discomfort of unresolved tension. If you grew up learning to fix things to keep the peace, that itch becomes a leash. The person wielding silence doesn't need to argue. They let absence do the arguing for them. How a stoic man responds is simple and clean. First, don't panic. Recognize the difference between honest space and a tactical blackout. If she says she needs time, respect it. If she disappears without reason, treat it as a behavior, not a truth about your worth. Second, meet silence with clarity, not chaos. Send one measured message. I'll give you the space you asked for. When you're ready to talk, I'm here to resolve this respectfully. Then mean it and step back. Do not flood, beg, or perform. Doing more only feeds the control. Third, hold boundaries. If silence becomes a pattern used to coerce, make consequences clear. When you shut me out like this, it breaks trust. I won't accept it. Enforce that consequence calmly. Distance, reduced availability, or a pause in the relationship until communication is mutual again. Silence loses power when you refuse to chase it. Stay rooted. Respect real space. Reject deliberate stonewalling. That's how you keep your peace and your dignity. Number 7. Gaslighting. The war on your reality. Gaslighting isn't just manipulation. It's psychological warfare. It's when someone twists the truth, denies what happened, or reframes events until you begin to question your own memory, your perception, even your sanity. It's not about disagreement. It's about control over reality itself. It starts subtly. You recall something she said, and she replies, "That never happened," or "You're imagining things." Maybe she shifts the blame, saying, "You're too sensitive," until you wonder if you really are. Bit by bit, your confidence erodes. You stop trusting your own instincts. You start leaning on her version of events. And that's exactly what gaslighting aims to achieve. Why it works is simple but brutal. It attacks the foundation of self-trust. If you grew up in chaos, with a parent who denied your emotions or changed stories, this pattern feels strangely familiar. It's not new pain. It's an old wound reopened. A stoic man breaks this cycle not with argument, but with awareness. He trusts his perception and keeps a record of facts, not to prove anything, but to stay anchored in truth. He doesn't try to convince the manipulator. He knows that explaining yourself to someone who rewrites reality is a trap. Instead, he detaches, calmly, quietly. And when reality is constantly twisted, he walks away. Because protecting your sanity is strength. Gaslighting loses its power the moment you stop seeking validation from the person distorting your truth. Stay grounded in what you know. That's where your peace lives. Number 8. Moving the goalposts. Moving the goalposts is the quietest form of emotional exhaustion. At first, everything looks possible. You meet her expectations, you adjust, you show up. Then the line shifts. Suddenly, what was enough yesterday is not enough today. Text more, call less, be more vulnerable, be less available. It's a treadmill with no finish line, and you're running yourself to the bone chasing approval that never arrives. Why it works? It trains you to perform for validation. You learn to measure your worth against a target that never stays still. Often it's not malicious at first. It begins as dissatisfaction, insecurity, or habit. But left unchecked, it becomes control. It keeps you anxious, always recalibrating, always explaining, always apologizing. That state is fertile ground for dependence and disrespect. How a Stoic man responds: first, see it clearly. When the rules change, don't assume you're the one who failed. Notice the pattern. Second, demand clarity. Ask calmly, what do you actually need from me here? If the answer changes every week, the problem isn't you, it's the moving target. Third, set non-negotiables. Consistency from a partner is not excessive, it's reasonable. If someone insists you be different people to earn affection, you protect your frame by withdrawing from that game. Most important, stop chasing a phantom. Value isn't proven by someone's shifting checklist. Value is proven by your willingness to keep standards and to walk quietly, without drama, when someone asks you to be less yourself. Have you ever felt like nothing you did was ever good enough? Share it below. Number 9. Over-helpfulness. Over-helpfulness sounds like care. At first it flatters. Someone organizing your day, fixing your habits, offering to manage your finances because they think it's better for you. It arrives wrapped in concern and kindness. But kindness that comes with a leash is still control. Why it works? Over-helpfulness taps into a childhood map most men carry. If you learned early to accept someone else solving your problems, you also learn to trade independence for peace. The warm feeling of being cared for masks a slow erosion of agency. One day you're grateful, the next you're looking up for permission. A Stoic man sees the pattern before it becomes a prison. He accepts help when it's asked for and useful, not when it is offered as a substitute for his choice. Real care empowers. It enlarges your capacity. Manipulative help shrinks it. How you respond. Keep your sovereignty. Thank her for the effort, then reclaim the decision. Say something like, I appreciate you looking out for me. I've got this, but I'll ask when I need help. If she insists, set a boundary. I don't want my schedule/finances/health managed without my consent. Calm, clear, unwavering. Remember, competence attracts respect. Dependence invites control. If her help feels like a takeover, call it out, preserve your routines, and protect your agency. Have you ever felt cared for until it stopped feeling like care? Share the moment below. Number 10. Using jealousy to get a reaction. Jealousy is an old trick dressed up as passion. Mentioning another man, flirting with someone in front of you, or dropping harmless compliments about how attractive someone is. These are all tests dressed as curiosity. They wake the part of you that fears loss, that remembers being compared, that rushes to prove worth. And when that part wakes, you lose something far more valuable than a moment of pride. You lose your calm. Why it works? Jealousy hijacks your limbic system. It turns logic into noise and urgency into action. If you respond from that place, text faster, argue louder, chase harder, you're playing the role she built for you. You become predictable, needy, easy to steer. The Stoic response is simple and rare. Notice the move, observe the intention. Do not inflate it with drama. Say nothing that betrays panic. A man who values himself doesn't scramble to reclaim attention. He evaluates the pattern. Set a boundary without theatrics. I don't respond to tests like that. If there's a concern, speak to me plainly. If it continues, apply the consequence you promised. Distance, reduced availability, or exit. Don't punish. Protect your peace. And finally, clean your own house. If jealousy still cuts you deep, do the inner work. No external test can hold power over a man who already knows his value. A relationship isn't won by proving you're jealous enough. It's sustained by refusing to be baited. Keep your calm. Keep your standards. If this message spoke to you, remember, calm is power. Don't chase control. Lead with presence. Subscribe to the Stoic Wolf, where men rise in silence and lead through discipline.